All right, pause. So, first, we just had a news publication begin with, oh my gosh, a house was listed for $250,000 and it's this horrible, disgusting fixer-upper. Hey everyone, me Kevin here. This particular video from The Hill went essentially viral. It has 1.285 million views, and it was just posted 5 days ago. It is Crystal Ball, the next housing crisis is here, and the villains are exactly who you'd expect.
So today I would like to show you guys this video from Meet Kevin, where he debunks a viral video from The Hill, the news organization. Basically, it shows two news reporters, if you can call them that, with their typical uninformed lefty talking points about the economy, the real estate market, and how unfair everything is. In this video, Kevin does a great job breaking down how wrong and uninformed these people are by bringing facts and data that you would expect these reporters to have studied before their show. So let's hear what Kevin has to say.
Folks, in this video, I'm going to respond to some of the things that are said with data and insights and just breaking apart some of the things that are said so we can have a better understanding of what is really being said here. It's a very good video, it's very emotional, but it misses a bit on the facts. So let's get into it. Here we go.
All right, Krystal, what's on your radar?
Well, friends, I've got a question for you this morning. What do you think about this house? It's a modest ranch built in 1948 in the Maryland suburbs of D.C. 4 bedrooms, 2 baths, about 1,800 square feet. Needless to say, seen better days. Nothing's been updated. Kitchen and bathroom, still the original from the 40s. The realtor's description says, in part, this is an estate home in need of some serious love, being sold strictly as is. Please do not go out on the deck. It is not safe. So this dilapidated, modest house was listed for what to me already seemed like a hefty sum of $275,000, but improbably it sparked an absolute feeding frenzy. 88 offers later, 76 of which were all in cash, the house sold for nearly $500,000. It went for $460K. That's 70% higher than the original list price.
All right, pause. So, first, we just had a news publication begin with, oh my gosh, a house was listed for $250,000 and it's this horrible, disgusting fixer-upper. How does it get 88 offers? Well, let's disconnect ourselves from housing for a moment and just think about eBay. What happens if you put something valuable on eBay, like let's say you take the latest iPhone and you put it on eBay, you go, you know what, I'm going to Android, I'm sick of freaking Apple, I'm tired of it, I want to throw it out the window, but before throwing it out of the window, I'm going to put it on eBay. So you put it on eBay for $1. What's going to happen? You're going to get hundreds and hundreds of bids. Now, how does that relate to this particular house? Well, it's simple. The market works the way the market works. And I'm not saying that it's good that housing prices are going up, and we're going to talk more about unaffordability in a moment. But take a look, folks. This is that house, 118 Fleetwood Terrace in Silver Spring, Maryland. And you could go through the same exact pictures that they went through here. Literally the same house. And so you'll notice the house sold for $460,000. Well, it's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,847 square foot home. Probably if I was going to fix this up as a rental property investment, I would probably be able to get this done. We do have a basement. We do have some mildew issues. We do potentially have some legal add-ons, deck issues. We've got quite a few things here. With this square footage, I'm probably into this thing at least $70,000 to $80,000. Some of you watching might be thinking, come on, Kevin, that's a $200,000 remodel. Well, not if you do it quality, but rental grade, right? We're not talking about a $70,000 kitchen. We're talking about a $20,000 kitchen. Anyway, okay, investor side aside. Now let's look at the neighborhood this is in. So let's zoom out a little bit. And let's see here, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. So that sold for $450,000. Here's a 3 and 2. In a similar neighborhood, backing up to a busy road, Dale Drive right here, because Fleetwood Terrace is right here. And this 3 and 2, which is 250 square feet smaller, sold for $608,000. See, here's that $460,000. Here's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath that's 300 square feet smaller off a busy road that sold for almost $700,000. Here's a 4-bedroom, 3-bath that's a similar square footage that sold for $800,000 in January, and it's move-in ready. So all of a sudden, is it a surprise that this house sold for $460,000 when a similar house fixed up sold for $800,000? Even if you put $200,000 into it, you'd still be up over $150,000.
Okay. Do you see how Kevin is breaking down his research? Just by a quick look at the neighborhood and the surrounding houses, you can get a reasonable estimate. Notice how only it took about 5 minutes to do it? Wouldn't you expect that kind of a research from the news people? I mean, that's the difference between smart people and the rest. Smart people do research, they study the market, and they take risks. And what's more, if you see that a house is selling for almost 3 times less than the overall market, obviously you will get multiple offers. So let's keep going.
So the context is very helpful. Let's keep going.
All to be the proud owner of a suburban property that is currently dangerous and unlivable. The winning bidder was not actually the highest offer, but they were totally in cash and they had all the paperwork ready to go. So this type of home in a suburban area, it should reasonably be a kind of a starter home, maybe for a young couple with the energy to fix it up. But what young couple has $500,000 in cash just laying around?
Wait a minute. She's suggesting that this isn't fair because a young couple should be able to start out in this 4-bedroom, 3.5 bath, 1,850 square foot home with a lot in an $800,000 neighborhood. No, that's not how it works. People start out. Oftentimes, we start in condos, we start in 1-bedroom, 1-baths, we start in 2-in-1s, we start in 3-in-1s or 3-bedroom, 2-baths that are small homes, and then we grow into larger and more expensive homes. So this is a little bit beginning to be a slippery slope argument. Now, don't get me wrong. Do I think it's fair that sellers always go for cash offers? No, but they also don't often. Oftentimes, there are sellers who are like, I don't want a flipper to own this. As a real estate broker, I've seen this many times. Sellers say, I don't want to sell it to a flipper. I want to sell it to a homeowner. And they're more than willing to take lower down payment offers as long as people are price competitive. Heck, sometimes you'll find home buyers who pay even a little bit more than the flippers do. Sure, sometimes people want quick cash easy, especially when the house is vacant. But this is a bit of an out of contextualized argument that she's making here that, well, it's not fair that a young couple can't start in this $800,000 neighborhood. Let's keep going.
It is insane. Now, this particular home might be a bit of an outlier, but there is no denying the fact that the housing market...
No, it's not an outlier. When something is well underpriced like that, it gets many offers.
It has been blazing hot, especially for the upper middle class.
Okay, I'm sure she is part of the working class. But there you have it. The fight between the have and have-nots, the evil rich people against innocent poor people, the typical Marxist class warfare nonsense. So that's what she does. That's what the media does. Let's keep going.
Now, the media has covered part of that story. Affluent professionals during coronavirus, they started prioritizing some different things. They wanted a home office space, more outdoor area.
I just want to make the note that I think it's interesting how she's trying to, and this is something they do on the show, she's trying to set herself up as being different from the media. This is the Hill. They are the media. They sit on Capitol Hill as the media. But in this conversation, they're trying to separate themselves to say, hey, the media is just covering how rich people are moving to the suburbs, but we got to be covering this as well. But this also is not exactly accurate coverage, what's happening here. It's missing a lot of detail to create emotion, but it's doing so in a way that's misleading to people.
As with remote work, of course, proximity to the office became less critical. At the same time, these affluent workers, they fared really well during the pandemic. They cut back on expenses and availed themselves of pandemic-era programs, but they were able to stay in their lucrative jobs, unlike the working class that was, of course, screwed over in basically every imaginable way.
Okay, so as you can imagine, this job is probably just a weekend hobby for her. She must be laying bricks during the week. But talking about the working class, well, the working class and small businesses owner, owners got screwed by the blue states, where people were forced to stay home, close their doors indefinitely, and even so, some people got arrested or fined for trying to open their businesses. You even got people fined or arrested for not using masks, for going outside, or for do get-togethers in their own homes or churches. So there you have it.
Yes, it is true. Working class people, retail, hospitality, restaurants got screwed. The best they got was maybe unemployment and some stimulus checks. People with a lot of real estate got huge forbearance, worth tens to hundreds of thousands of dollars, even if they didn't even need it. Yeah, the system is broken. She is right about that. The disproportionate amount of money that went to hedge funds via PPP loans versus individual people who actually need it, she's right.
Well, the loans were made to people who had businesses, from small to big. The problem is that it is not the government's job to provide loans. When the government intervenes in the free market, you always get these so-called injustices because the government is bad at everything they do. If you believe it is the government's job to solve your problems, you can complain by the results of the policies you support. Remember, the system is broken because socialism doesn't work, and it never will. The government will always fail. The government is inefficient. When the government intervenes, people with more resources will know how to take it more advantage of that. That's why you want a small government. So she can complain about that when she supports big government. Those are the consequences of the policies she supports.
But now we are learning that the housing boom and possible bubble is being driven not only, or maybe not even primarily, by the PMC wanting more gardening space. Permanent capital is buying up homes at astonishing rates. Take a look at this new report from the Wall Street Journal. If you sell a house these days, the buyer might be a pension fund. Wall Street Journal weirdly focused their headline on pension funds because I guess they're associated with workers.
Okay, do you get the Marxist shot against the Wall Street Journal? Um, they rarely talk about pension funds because I guess they're associated with workers. Oh, yeah. Apparently, she only read the title. Let's go to Kevin to explain to us more.
But the truth is, it's all sorts of rich people and their financial institutions that are buying up American communities. The report quotes a real estate consultant who estimates that 1 in 5 houses in the U.S. is sold to someone who never moves in. That same analyst told the Wall Street Journal, you now have permanent capital competing with a young couple trying to buy a house. That's going to make U.S. housing permanently more expensive.
Wait a minute. That was a little bit of a slippery slope here. Again, drawing these correlations in my opinion, a biased way. First of all, she's slamming pension funds for being for the worker, but buying up their homes. But wait a minute. Just because the title said pension funds are buying up homes doesn't mean that pension funds are buying up all of the homes, not even close to all of the homes. In fact, she doesn't tell us how many homes pension funds are buying. Instead, she cites a consultant who says as many as 1 in 5 homes are bought by people who don't live in them. So 20% of homes are bought by people who don't live in them. So she merged this data here to imply that pension funds are buying up all the homes, but missed a really big piece when it comes to real estate. Take a look at this article. Single family investment goes institutional. Let's drop down to this section right here. A Freddie Mac report published at the end of 2018, I understand this is end of 2018, this article was published in 2020, showed that only 1% of single family rental homes, or approximately 188,000 properties, were owned by institutional investors. On the other hand, roughly 80% were owned by small investors with portfolios of 10 houses or less. So this is opening up a whole new door here. This is suggesting, wait a minute, yeah, maybe there are institutional investors buying single family homes, but individual investors who don't live there could also be the big competition. In fact, here's an article from Harvard's Joint Center for Housing Studies, which indicates 74% of individual home buyers were individual investors. then followed by limited partnerships. So of the investors in the rental housing space, 74% are people like you and me, and 25% might be institutional. So wait a second. She said with her data that 1 in 5 homes get sold to people who don't live there. So that means out of 100 homes, 20 go to investors. Of those investors, some might go to pension funds, some might go to LLCs and other corporations or whatever, but statistically, 70 to 75% of them go to individual investors. So this means out of 100, out of 20, I should say, if let's say 70% or 14 go to individual investors, yeah, that means out of 100, maybe 6 go to pension funds, LLCs, and institutional investors. The way the video conveys this message is pension funds are buying everything, you can't compete, you're screwed, the American dream is no longer attainable. It's a little bit misleading. And even the 2020-21 data reiterates this. In fact, if you go to the actual article that she cited, and we get this talk about pension funds buying up homes, when you type in the word pension fund, you actually only get one match within the article. And the article just says, from individuals with smartphones and a few $1,000s to pensions and private equity firms with billions, yield-chasing investors are snapping up single-family homes. Yield-chasing investors. Well, that includes those individual investors as well. In fact, if we go over here, a consulting firm found Houston to be a favorite haunt of investors, have lately accounted for 24% of home purchases there. So you still have home buyers buying 76% of homes, investors buying 24% in Houston, but of those investors, a vast majority are individual investors. Unfortunately, so far, even though she's trying to convey that she's different from the media, she's kind of pulling some media tricks here.
Private equity giants, hedge funds, and other economic royalists are buying up houses, in some cases entire neighborhoods, and then they're either getting directly into the landlord business or they're flipping them to entities that will rent the suburban American dream to you. As a result, home prices have jumped 16% nationwide in a single year.
Okay, also, wrong correlation. Home prices have not jumped 16% because of institutional investors buying homes. Institutional investors are a small part. Sure, they might be buying more homes than they have in the past, but they're a small percentage nonetheless. There is no statistic to argue otherwise. Yes, the number is growing, but it's a small portion. Most home buyers are individuals. Why are prices going up? Because interest rates go down.
So again, big government intervention in the free market creates problems. The reason that interest rates are so low is because the Fed keeps them artificially low. Let's keep going.
There's a rule of 10x. Interest rates go down 1.5%, home prices go up 15%. Interest rates have gone down 1.5%. Yeah, recently they've ticked up a little bit again, and I'm not saying it's good that home prices are skyrocketing the way they are, but pension funds buying up homes is not the only thing contributing to prices going up. That is, pension funds are not to blame for home prices going up. Sure, they might be taking away a little bit of inventory relative to the lack of inventory we already have, and so they're adding to the problem. Yes, they're certainly not helping the problem. It's not like pension funds are like, here's some stuff for you to buy, right? Totally agree with that. But pension funds are not to blame solely for this price increase. It's interest rates, let's be real. And obviously the inventory shortage, which again, pension funds are just contributing to in a small way.
Okay, so I'm going to state the obvious here. It is easy to understand the inventory problem. Remember, supply and demand. Until 2018, we have a housing boom, but we have too much supply, so developers had to reduce their new projects for a while. In 2021, the demand has increased. So developers are starting to build new projects again. That's the balance that the free market brings. Also, every state is different. People are leaving blue states like New York and California by the thousands because too many taxes and regulations are killing the market. That's why in free market, small government states like Florida or Texas, we have a housing boom. People are moving to these states because of the freedom and the affordable prices we have. You have to remember, Your lefty policies are doing this to your states. You can't complain of the consequences of the policies you support.
In the Northeast and the West, the increase has been even wilder, with prices jumping 21% year over year. Does that sound to you like the type of healthy growth that's going to lead to vibrant and sustainable communities? Of course not. It's another disaster in the making. Best case scenario is that the prices just continue to go up indefinitely, which is great if you already own a home and great if you're a wealthy investor, but a disaster if you are anyone trying to buy a home for the first time. And not being able to buy a home is a disaster because it's basically the only remaining path to building any sort of stable wealth in an era of privatization, 401ks, and COBRA. Instead, you'll be doomed to have some private equity goon as your landlord, applying their Harvard education to come up with new ways to squeeze every penny they possibly can out of you. They get to build and build and build their wealth, and you never do. Testimonials from the families already living this nightmare are predictably horrible. Distant corporate landlords who do nothing as porches collapse, pipes burst, and mildew grows. Tenants with no recourse and no options who are stuck in hazardous homes. The slumlord of yore replaced with some of America's wealthiest institutions, but with the end result exactly the same.
Okay, when she says wealthy institutions, she's probably not referring to her employer, right? The hell? What a sad beauty of the market. The chances for you to get a bad landlord are the same if you are a landlord and you get a bad tenant. Some people are good, some people are bad, but you have choices and competition in a free market. If you get a lousy landlord, you can move. Nobody's forcing you to stay there. The only places where it's hard to find available places are the heavily regulated blue states. You can move to Florida or Texas and you won't have those problems. But remember, if you do move, leave your lefty policies in your state.
Okay, let me pause there for a second. First of all, look, renting can be very problematic. And the reason renting can be so problematic is because so many regular people who don't understand property management and laws and legality get into property management. This is a big problem. I don't actually believe that this is an institutional investor problem. It's oftentimes clueless landlords who, yeah, they put lipstick on a pig. They don't fix problems. It's a big issue. They don't understand laws. They don't understand wear and tear. They don't understand, security deposit rules. And yeah, there are many, many individual investors who screw this stuff up. But it's not pension funds or massive funds like BlackRock. They're not the only landlords. In fact, they're not the majority single-family landlord. In fact, they probably have more systems and more attorneys to know what the heck to do that's correct than an individual landlord. Many individual landlords, and there are great individual landlords out there, but many individual landlords get into rental property because, yeah, they see it as a way to build wealth. And she's correct in what she's saying. Real estate is a phenomenal way to build your wealth. I encourage everybody to get their own home and then turn it into a rental. But when you start your first rental property journey, unless you have guidance or a property manager, it's overwhelming. It's scary. And yeah, people are pinching pennies in oftentimes the wrong ways, like plumbing issues that should not be there, electrical issues that should not be there, preventative maintenance that I do, but maybe an unsophisticated landlord doesn't understand to do. It's a big, big problem. Absolutely. Let's keep going.
The best case scenario. The worst case scenario, it's another dangerous speculative bubble. Sure, market's hot right now, so everyone's buying with all cash offers, gobbling up whatever they possibly can. But at some point, the music stops. The gains reverse, even if only by a little bit, and all the big players who bought in big rush for the exits to try to avoid being the ones left holding the bag. They dump their inventory back into the market, dropping prices. Ordinary homeowners who took out giant mortgages to desperately grasp for that American dream watch their home prices plummet, leaving them upside down and totally screwed. I'll give you one guess as to whether it will be the big guys or the homeowners who will get bailed out.
Well, you only get bailed out by the government. If you don't want to bail out people, get the government out of the market. But remember, the housing crash from 2008 was created by big government. In 1994, they passed a bunch of laws and regulations forcing banks to meet certain bad borrowers' quotas. They also created Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, a government bank whose job was to guarantee those loans. Apart from forcing banks to give bad loans, they also backed these bad loans, created a bad incentive. You see, the reason that the free market works is because you have competition, smart capital allocations, and balance.
As one sociologist at the London School of Economics put it, the story of housing in 21st century America.
Okay, hold on a second. Look, we know that there are bad landlords, but there are also really good landlords. And I would say there are more good landlords than there are bad landlords. And remember, most landlords of single family homes are individual people like you and me, people who owned a home, moved out of it, and turned it into a rental, or bought a rental. They saved up and bought a rental because they want to be a part of the American dream and build wealth. Look, are you gonna build wealth being a renter? It's gonna be a lot harder. Totally agree with you. It means you have to start smaller, you have to start with a lower down payment, you have to suffer that higher monthly payment, whether that means you have to work more, whatever you have to do to get in. Unfortunately, that is a problem. I completely agree that's a problem. But wait a minute, what she just described is a false dilemma, which is a logical fallacy. She says, best case scenario, home prices just keep skyrocketing and things keep going up. And worst case scenario, the housing market speculative bubble crashes and everything implodes and we have a disaster of home prices crashing and the big rich institutions are going to get bailed out. Okay, let's unpackage that a little bit and we'll go backwards. First of all, is it true that institutions get bailed out when things hit the fan? Yes. And things potentially hit the fan in March of 2020. But guess who got bailed out? Everybody who owned real estate. Every homeowner had the opportunity to get mortgage forbearance. Institutional folks had the opportunity to get mortgage forbearance. You know who got screwed? It was tenants. Totally agree. Tenants got screwed. They got, oh, well, we won't evict you. Okay, great. But the other people get to save a ton of money on the bills, like the tenants still owe the money. Exactly. Now, technically, the people taking forbearance still owe money, but if you can hook that onto the back of a 20 or 30-year loan, it's basically like free money. Opportunity cost makes that free money. So worst case scenario is the housing market crashes. Best case scenario is it keeps going to the moon. This is, again, a false dilemma. It's a false choice that there are only two things that could happen here. And first of all, it's wrong. Because best case scenario, in my opinion, is we get substantially more supply in the market and we get a moderation in home prices. Here, let's use the red color. We get a moderation in home prices and we get back to a normal growth in housing. Rather than this insane parabolic move, which we've already started this parabolic move, we want to get onto a sustained housing path. So yeah, it'll look like an S-curve, and that's again because of low inventory and low rates. And sure, when rates go up, we might even see housing prices dip down and come back up. But this, in my opinion here, is probably more like a 60% likelihood than this likelihood that this unsustainable madness of continuous buying and buying and buying continues. That's not possible in my opinion. There's a small chance it keeps continuing for a few years, but it's not gonna go on forever. And this worst case scenario is really another scenario that makes, again, for good clickbait and a good video, but it's, in my opinion, not extremely likely. Why? Because think about it this way. Of the people who are buying homes today, guess what the average FICO score is of people buying homes? It's 800. That means extremely high qualified borrowers are the ones getting homes right now. Is that fair to people trying to start? No, totally agree. There are problems there and those problems should be fixed and addressed.
Well, trying to fix those problems is what created the big crash from 2008. Government intervention in the market always ends badly. The simple reason we never had a housing crash before is because banks only lend money to good borrowers, people with a good credit score. That changed with Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. Again, socialism got in the middle of the market and it started to create problems. You see, if you start lending money to people who make bad decisions with money, and to make it worse, you guarantee the loans, obviously you're going to create a perversion in the market. Who won't go to Las Vegas to bet like crazy with somebody else's money? You broke the balance that the free market brings, and then you are going to complain about the consequences of your stupid policies? No, you can't.
But these are not people with high quality, these are not people with low quality loans, I should say. These are not people with no income, no job, no asset loans. This is different. And I'm not trying to sound like, oh, this time is different and say that there's not going to be a crash. There very well could be. If we see interest rates skyrocket, there very well could be. And that's important to know. But do the people have to sell? Well, they probably have sustainable jobs. They probably have high credit scores. And so there's a lower likelihood of them defaulting, especially since they have 30-year fixed rate debt, compared to people taking two-year adjustable rate mortgages or 6-month teaser rates at 0% and then adjusting up to 7%, like the kind of crap that we saw back in the 2006-2007 start of the global or great financial crisis. So again, this false dichotomy, this logical fallacy in reporting here is very misleading. There's way more nuance to answer these questions. Some of the things she's saying, she's making good points, but the conclusions she's drawing are incorrect. We saw it first with the housing, we saw it with who's actually buying homes, and we're seeing it now with the market crash argument. All right, so then for the rest of the video, they go into this conversation about how unfair it is, how difficult it is to build intergenerational wealth. And I get it. I help people learn exactly how to buy real estate. In fact, totally for free. Totally for free. You do not have to buy, because I do. I have courses not only on investing in stocks, but real estate property management, real estate investing, getting started with zero, with stocks, sales, you name it. But Google this, okay? If you found this helpful, start with $10,500 real estate investing. All right, so the first one that you should watch is right here. How I Turned $10,500 into $210,000 in 90 days, beginner real estate. Another one that you can watch is the Blunt video. So Meet Kevin, Real Estate Start Blunt, right here. Real estate investing, $10,000 to $100,000 fast and blunt. You can even watch this older video if you want right here. Watch these videos and hopefully they help you actually get into real estate, because yes, grinding away as a tenant makes it a lot harder for you to build wealth when you could be building wealth by investing in real estate. Now, I'm not trying to shill real estate here. I get no benefit as to you buying or selling real estate. It makes no difference to me. I don't care. I have 30-year fixed rate loans on my real estate. We manage our own properties. We're a small family, we're rental property managers. And we started the way I described in this video, the single family house that we moved out of and turned into a rental. So anybody can do it. I strongly believe that. But you've got to ignore, or at least be able to look past, don't ignore, but look past this kind of drama video and understand the facts, and then understand, okay, how do I actually get started? How do I get in on this? Because the argument that renters don't get ahead when homeowners do is correct. The average wealth of a homeowner is $176,000. The average wealth of a tenant is $5,600. Let that sink in. Thanks so much for watching. I'm not gonna watch the rest of that video. If you wanna watch it, go to the Hill, watch it yourself. Folks, thank you so much for watching this reaction, and we'll see you in the next one.
Okay, so this is the end of the video. So closing thoughts. Life is hard. That doesn't mean it is just or unjust. The only just system you can hope for is one where you have the right to make your own decisions, where you live with the consequences of those decisions, good or bad. If you are in America, it doesn't matter if you were born poor or rich, or your ethnicity, race, or gender, you have the freedom to go for it in this country. And remember, good people don't take by force from others. Thank you.